Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to this week's weekly wrap. It's Joseph here from Eightcap. Thank you very much for your time and for tuning in. If you are enjoying our content, please feel free to subscribe and like, and feel free also to let us know your feedback about our content as well. That'll be great. So we'll start with the dollar, and we had a pretty mixed week. We had a couple rallies. We had what looked like a test of this resistance early in the week, which failed pretty badly, and then we saw a little bit of water being treaded before yesterday's unemployment claims came in and sort of hit momentum pretty hard. So with the economy cooling, a lot of focus now comes to US rates and if rates will pause, and there is some talk of could a pause turn into a cut, but I think based off what the Fed's saying, that would be pretty surprising if they did cut rates. But I think maybe that we'll be looking at a hold, but we can see here just in this move by the dollar yesterday just how dramatic the momentum shift was, and it did wonders for risk currencies. We can see here we had a few stalls before that really came in, and we saw a very strong session on the Aussie and the Euro as well. So with the Euro now, we've broken above this resistance level here at 1076. Excuse, I didn't put in the dot. And now if things do continue and the dollar does continue to have a bit of a push lower, with sentiment changing and continued information coming in to support that, could this be the start of something here? So we can see support there at 106.89. We've had a bit of a breakout yesterday, so and there's also a trend break as well. So these are early signs that possibly that we could see a bit of a shift in momentum. So let's see how that progresses into next week, and if we do see more to that, but also be wary if we do see any really dramatic pullbacks. That could be a warning as well that things aren't just yet over on the sell side. I think a lot will come down to obviously the direction of the dollar. Now the pound, which has been one of the firmer of the risk currencies, you can see that rally here. After that pullback, we saw another nice move here. We've got a higher low, a trend break, and things are looking a little bit more positive with that close above that high, last week's high. So again, same with the pound. Are we going to see another return to test this resistance here? That's really that key level. That's at 1.2628. Anything above there, and we are starting to look for this overall trend to continue on. So the dollar, we've sort of just covered that. We'll have a look at next week's news, and I think there will need to be a real continued shift from influence to keep that going. The dollar, up until really yesterday, has been very firm. We've seen this really nice leg up here. So things will need to get relatively serious to sort of crack this. Even a pullback down to here is still okay if we see a new swing back up and break this resistance. But that key will be that resistance. So a lot of eyes, my eyes, and I think a lot of eyes will be on how it fares and what happens next. And just some of the key influences do come in. Now stocks, the ASX had a pretty average week. We saw a lot of selling. This was primarily due to the RBA's surprise rate increase this week. So they took the cash rate up to 4.10%. That really does continue to put a lot of pressure on local mortgage holders. We have a lot of mortgages moving out of fixed into variable, and a lot of the people out there are hurting and having a lot of issues finding that extra money per month to pay those mortgage repayments. And I think a lot of pressure now will be redirected back onto the RBA. They're still talking about further maybe rate rises, but will we see a pause in the cycle, or will we see another rate rise just to sort of maybe just to hammer into it hard, and then will we see a period of pauses as they look to see the economy continue to slow down? So I think that's also the real worry with the US now, with those unemployment claims coming up after pretty robust jobs, NFP jobs started the previous week. So looking at some of the indexes, so it was a bit of a not really a mixed bag, but it was a good night for the US 30. We saw a break into this area here. We just want to see one more move really up to test this level here. It's at 34,181, and then obviously up into these areas to sort of show that this move is a trend, and that we could see, you know, a more of a medium-term up move in play. Some of the other US indexes, so the Nasdaq fought back from a previous drop in price, and the SPX 500 put on. I'll just update that. Put on a nice session, and it's very close now to getting back up to test those highs set back in August in 2022, and not far away. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get back up there to test or maybe break that. They'll take the two of them into that area, with only really the US 30 to follow. Now the US 2000, which, you know, formerly known as the Russell, or the, you know, the small cap 2000, had an excellent run so far. It did stop yesterday, surprisingly, but, you know, during this week we saw two amazing moves, and it really does have to get back up to this level here, and obviously then back up to these highs. But I think for now, if we did see a pullback, we'll then look for a new higher low to suggest that this up leg is going to continue. Anything back down to these areas will be a bit of a worry. Now, gold obviously fought back quite well yesterday with the dollar falling. It's still range bound. We do have this really strong support here at 1939.20ish, and that's the level now we're looking for buyers to hold. We really want to see a break above this point here at 1978.44, and then if we can see a break above that level, that would be a good sign, and then we'll look for further buying to continue. But if sellers break this support here, that's a worry as well. Now, we have covered some of the currencies. Oil this week has been pretty choppy. Not too much has been going on. We know we saw that new news about the production cuts that haven't done too much. Price actually did dip below $70 a barrel again last night before a late fight back. So it really just does look like it's trading water for now. Now, we're going to just get into the crypto markets now. There's been a bit of news out this week with obviously with Binance and the SEC. We've heard a bit of an update today on some of the headlines saying that US banks at the moment starting to cut off Binance access to the US banking system. So that definitely wasn't taken too well, and we can see a lot of the coins have not really made new lows after earlier this week. We had that really impressive fight back, but there has been, as we can see, there's a lot of indecision, and there's some worry around. So coins, for instance, like Canado has been absolutely hammered, and we can see that drop here. It was around, when I checked it earlier, 14% lower for the week. And so the other key coins like Ethereum, things are still range bound, but are not looking, you know, the rosiest. It does look, compared to, you know, this time last week, there was a lot more buyer interest, and there was a lot more confidence in the market, and this is a bit of a worry, and we really would like to see Ethereum hold this level here at 1784. So same, Bitcoin did break below its key support, but has put in a bit of a low. There looks to be a fair bit of demand down at that 29 up to down around the 24 area up to 25, and Ripple, which has been sort of continuing to run its own race at the moment, is still holding around that 50-cent area. It's a little bit weaker today, but has been pretty much, you know, relatively unscathed so far after that real key move down. But it is still trading inside this key bar here, so definitely to keep an eye on that. And if there is a lot of heaviness at the top, it wouldn't surprise me if we did see another move down, but we want to see this level here at 50 cents hold as support. There's been a lot of demand there so far, but it looks also as having a lot of trouble up in that 54-cent area, and obviously above previously, you know, up to that, you know, 55, 56 area, there's been a fair bit of selling. So key resistance here, support we want to see hold here just to maintain this trend at the moment. Now, we will just look out to, obviously, we just touched on the RBA. We also had the Bank of Canada raise rates. The key one, you know, yesterday was that unemployment claims in the US, and they jumped up to 261,000. We have employment data coming out for Canada today, and just skipping over to next week, we'll just have a look at any key things coming out. So US CPI is coming out, which obviously is going to be very important under the current state of affairs. They're looking for year on year to be 4.2, down from 4.9. They're looking for the monthly to be at 0.2 and the core to come in at 0.4. So a hold on the previous data, and the CPI data to come in lower than the previous month. So that will be definitely one to watch. The UK GDP is coming out as well, and then we have the core PPI and PPI coming out. So they're looking for a decrease in the PPI down to minus 0.1, and then we have the FOMC on early Thursday morning, and rates are expected at this stage to remain on hold at 5.25%. So if that does get realized, will it continue to push the dollar lower? I think a lot will come down to what we see in that inflation data beforehand, and inflation does really, drop below expectations on, below that 4.2%. That could set off some fireworks to the downside for the USD. And just to finish off the week, we have GDP out of New Zealand and employment data, for Australian employment data. Now, with that rate rise, that employment data could be quite important. And Chinese industrial production. So there's been a few data misses in China this week, and there is a bit more focus on exactly how well that recovery is going. And continuing with next week, we have rates decision out of so rates in the EU are expected to rise once again to 4%. I think the statement as well will be interesting to see just how they're viewing inflation at the moment. Now, it doesn't stop this next week. We have retail sales coming out of the US as well. And core retail sales look to fall to 0.1, retail sales to a flat at 0.0%, and then US unemployment claims once again. I think based on this week's unemployment claims, there will be a lot of interest in next week's as well. And then we have the ECB press conference after the rates. And to top it all off, on Friday, we have the rates decision out of the Bank of Japan. The rates are expected to remain on hold, but with a few comments coming out of the Bank of Japan this week, I think there'll be a lot of focus on the statement and on the press conference, and on the press conference as well, just to view their how they're going to approach bonds, and any future plans they have as well for their balance sheets. So that's really it for this week's wrap up. So hopefully we're going to have a very busy week next week data wise. There's going to be a lot to keep focus on, so it could be an exciting week, and hopefully we won't see too many wild surprises and some crazy volatility. Hopefully we get some decent runs that carry through. So that's it. Thank you very much. We wish you all a fantastic weekend and good trading for the rest of today.